Welcome to York Brewery then, guys. We've been here for 16 years now. We're the first brewery actually inside the city walls since the 1950s. Two guys both called Tony. They'd worked together in Little Chef for years and years. They decided to have a little change of direction and go and start their own brewery. They did that quite successfully, but about 4 years ago they decided to retire. So they sold the brewery on. We're now part of another company called Mitchells of Lancaster. Now, the beer has four main ingredients. We need malt, which we've got in all the bags in this room here. We also need hops, lots of water, and yeast as well. So the malt is nearly always malted barley, and before it comes to us it goes to this place called a maltsters or malt house. We use some guys at about 30 miles away in Castleford.
Is preparing the barley. It has to be soaked and spread out on the floor of the malting house. The soaking encourages it to grow a little. It's not allowed to grow too much, mind, just until the tiny roots that sprout are a certain length.
Now what they do, they take the grain, they wet it slightly and warm it so it starts to germinate. So enzymes are produced that can break down starch into smaller sugars. And it's that sugar we need from the grain to be able to ferment, turn into alcohol and make our beer.
And it has to be dried in the kiln. This machine turns it over and over to allow the grain an even drying. Next, it's crushed and eventually arrives at the mash tuns where the actual brewing starts.
Sales come to us and say, we want this type of beer, we want a light beer, we want another strong bitter, we want it to be this colour, we want it to be this ABV. And between the brewers that are here, myself and the other brewers, we can work out what kind of beer, what we can get, what type of beer they want. Just through it's just through experience. We know how many hops to add. We know how many bags of malt go in to make a beer of whatever ABV you want. I mean, that's basically, that's what the malt does. It adds the sugar. So you add more bags of malt, it's effectively more sugar, which means more alcohol in the end. So if you add more bags, you get a stronger beer.
Hello, I'm Nick Webster, head brewer at York Brewery. The brewery opened in 1996, 16 years ago. It was the first brewery in York for 40 years. We've grown over the years from doing 1-2 brews a week. We now do 9 brews a week. It's about 6,000 pints per brew. Things have changed over the years. Everything was done manually, loading casks onto wagons by hand. Recently got forklift trucks. We've now got a yard a few hundred metres away which holds like up to 1,000 casks at a time. When the brewery first started, it was started by 2 people who took redundancy. And at the time it was really hard work. Got our first pub, last drop in 2000. We've now got 3 other pubs in town. The brewing process is quite simple. We don't pasteurise or filter the beer, so it's all natural product. It's still alive in the cask. It's becoming more and more popular. There's a lot more breweries setting up than from when we first started. And it's a growing market, so things are looking good for real ale. When we first started the brewery, things were quite hard. But in 2000, they cut the beer duty in half for small brewers, which was a big difference for us at the time. We used to pay about £30,000 a month in duty, which overnight was halved. As we've grown, the way it works, we pay a little bit more than half rate. So whether we'd like to get any bigger or not, we don't know. We're going to pay more duty the more beer we produce.